The Swift programming language, the basics, text copyright 2022 by Apple, and made available under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Swift is a new programming language for iOS, macOS, watchOS, and tvOS app development. Nonetheless, many parts of Swift will be familiar from your experience of developing in C and Objective-C. Swift provides its own versions of all fundamental C and Objective-C types, including int for integers, double and float for floating point values, bool for Boolean values, and string for textual data. Swift also provides powerful versions of three primary collection types: array, set, and dictionary, as described in collection types. Like C, Swift uses variables to store and refer to values by an identifying name. Swift also makes extensive use of variables whose values cannot be changed. These are known as constants and are much more powerful than constants in C. Constants are used throughout Swift to make code safer and clearer in intent when you work with values that do not need to change. In addition to familiar types, Swift introduces advanced types not found in Objective-C, such as tuples. Tuples enable you to create and pass around groupings of values. You can use a tuple to return multiple values from a function as a single compound value. Swift also introduces optional types, which handle the absence of a value. Optionals say either there is a value and it equals X, or there is not a value at all. Using optionals is similar to using nil with pointers in Objective-C, but they work for any type, not just classes. Not only are optionals safer and more expressive than nil pointers in Objective-C, they are at the heart of many of Swift's most powerful features. Swift is a type-safe language, which means the language helps you to be clear about the types of values your code can work with. If part of your code requires a string, type safety prevents you from passing it an int by mistake. Likewise, type safety prevents you from accidentally passing an optional string to a piece of code that requires a non-optional string. Type safety helps you catch and fix errors as early as possible in the development process. Constants and variables associate a name, such as maximum number of login attempts or welcome message, with the value of a particular type, such as the number 10 or the string hello. The value of a constant cannot be changed once it is set, whereas a variable can be set to a different value in the future. Declaring constants and variables. Constants and variables must be declared before they are used. You declare constants with the let keyword and variables with the var keyword. Here's an example of how constants and variables can be used to track the number of login attempts a user has made. This code can be read as declare a new constant called maximum number of login attempts and give it a value of 10. Then declare a new variable called current login attempt and give it an initial value of 0. In this example, the maximum number of allowed login attempts is declared as a constant because the maximum value never changes. The current login attempt counter is declared as a variable because this value must be incremented after each failed login attempt. You can declare multiple constants or multiple variables on a single line separated by commas. Note, if a stored value in your code will not change, always declare it as a constant with the let keyword. Use variables only for storing values that need to be able to change. Type annotations. You can provide a type annotation when you declare a constant or variable to be clear about what kind of values the constant or variable can store. Write a type annotation by placing a colon after the constant or variable name, followed by a space, followed by the name of the type to use. This example provides a type annotation for a variable called welcome message to indicate that the variable can store string values. The colon in the declaration means of type, so the code above can be read as declare a variable called welcome message that is of type string. The phrase of type string means can store any string value. Think of it as meaning the type of thing or the kind of thing that can be stored. The welcome message variable can now be set to any string value without error. You can define multiple related variables of the same type on a single line separated by commas with a single type annotation after the final variable name. Note, It is rare that you need to write type annotations in practice. If you provide an initial value for a constant or variable at the point that it is defined, Swift can almost always infer the type to be used for that constant or variable as described in type safety and type inference. In the welcome message above, no initial value is provided, and so the type of welcome message variable is specified with a type annotation rather than being inferred from an initial value. Naming constants and variables. Constants and variable names can contain almost any character, including Unicode characters. Constant and variable names cannot contain whitespace characters, mathematical symbols, arrows, private use Unicode scalar values, or line and box drawing characters, nor can they begin with a number, although numbers may be included elsewhere within the name. Once you have declared a constant or variable of a certain type, you cannot declare it again with the same name or change it to store values of a different type, nor can you change a constant into a variable or a variable into a constant. Note: if you need to give a constant or variable the same name as a reserved Swift keyword, surround the keyword with backticks when using it as a name. However, avoid using keywords as names unless you have absolutely no choice. You can change the value of an existing variable to another value of a compatible type. In this example, the value of friendly welcome is changed from hello to bonjour. Unlike a variable, the value of a constant cannot be changed after it is set. Attempting to do so is reported as an error when your code is compiled. Printing constants and variables. You can print the current value of a constant or variable with the print separator terminator function. The print separator terminator function is a global function that prints one or more values to an appropriate output. In Xcode, for example, the print separator terminator function prints its output in Xcode's console pane. The separator and terminator parameters have default values, so you can omit them when you call this function. By default, the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line break. To print a value without a line break after it, pass an empty string as the terminator. For example, print some value terminator. For information about parameters with default values, see default parameter values. Swift uses string interpolation to include the name of a constant or variable as a placeholder in a longer string, and to prompt Swift to replace it with the current value of that constant or variable. Wrap the name in parentheses and escape it with the backslash before the opening parenthesis. Note: all options you can use with string interpolation are described in string interpolation. Comments. Use comments to include non-executable text in your code as a note or reminder to yourself. Comments are ignored by the Swift compiler when your code is compiled. Comments in Swift are very similar to comments in C. Single-line comments begin with 2 forward slashes. Multi-line comments start with a forward slash followed by an asterisk and end with an asterisk followed by a forward slash. Unlike multi-line comments in C, multi-line comments in Swift can be nested inside other multi-line comments. You write nested comments by starting a multi-line comment block and then starting a second multi-line comment within the first block. The second block is then closed, followed by the first block. Nested multi-line comments enable you to comment out large blocks of code quickly and easily, even if the code already contains multi-line comments. Semicolons. Unlike many other languages, Swift does not require you to write a semicolon after each statement in your code, although you can do so if you wish. However, semicolons are required if you want to write multiple separate statements on a single line.
I hope you find out this video useful. If you like the video, give it a like. Share it with your friends who wants to make their career in Swift. Do you have any suggestions regarding the content? Comments section is all yours. If you want the second part of this video, then do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.